Welcome back to the Steve Malzberg Show, everybody, on NewsMaxTV.com. I'm Ed Berliner, along with Diane Diamond, sitting in for Steve today. And again, a happy Passover for all of our viewers as well as you celebrate the holiday. I don't want to be the bearer of bad news, but it is the day before April 15th. I just didn't want to say it out loud, okay? There was a recent survey that found that if you make over $1 million a year, you are 11% likely to be audited. If you make under $1 million a year, you have a 1% chance.
I'm not going to be audited.
We are thankful to be in the 1%. Thank you so very much. However, if you live in California, you might feel as if audit is the least of your worries, as you have to dig into your wallet every single day for a lot more money. Because in California, the taxes are up and people aren't happy. As a matter of fact, a record high 60% of Californians say they pay much more or somewhat more in taxes than they should. That wouldn't shock anybody.
I think I pay too much too, but I don't live there anymore.
There we go. As California goes, people say, so goes the nation. Our next guest absolutely feels that way when it comes down to taxes and what taxes are doing to the state of California. The book is called Taxifornia, The Liberals' Laboratory to Bankrupt America, and the author is James Lacy, who has a history back to Howard Jarvis and the Reagan administration. Mr. Lacy, thanks so much for joining us on NewsMaxTV.com.
It's just a pleasure to be with you. Thank you.
So how bad are things in California when you consider that there are some people who say, wait a minute, Jim, it's a great place to live. We love it. We're not unhappy at all.
Well, it is a great place to live, and I didn't write the book Taxifornia to encourage people to leave. I wrote it to encourage reform. But here's the reality, and it's a sad reality. The top marginal tax rate in California, along with the federal taxation under the Obama administration, is 52.9%. So that means that if you're very well off, you're basically giving most of your salary over to the government, and that's not characteristic of a capitalistic system. It's characteristic of a socialistic system. California has the highest income tax in the nation. It has the highest state sales tax in the nation. It has the highest gas tax in the nation. It has the highest corporate tax in the West. And on top of all that, it has the worst business climate because of the taxes. California is the third worst state in the nation to do business. According to CEO magazine, 9 years in a row, it's the worst state to do business. And I have to say, with all of these 60% of the people that are saying that they're taxed too much in California, there's also an underlying view that rich people aren't taxed enough. You know what? The rich people, the top 5% who pay taxes in California, are paying 2/3 of the income tax. And this has caused Dan Walters, who is a columnist for the Sacramento Bee, who's is considered to be a neutral, moderate observer, to say that this is a perilous situation because if you tax your wealthy too much, all they got to do is go across that border to Nevada, to lovely Incline Village, where there's no income tax. This is the problem that California is creating, and they're going to bankrupt the state. The liberal Democrats in control have really created a big problem here, and they're taxing too much.
Let's look at this in a larger sense, if we could, though, because with America watching right now, certainly you're speaking to California and what happens there and the liberal plan. How then, I'm someone living in Michigan, living in Florida, living in Texas. How does this react down and filter down to them, and what does it tell us about where this country is going in a tax sense?
Well, I'm glad you brought up Michigan because, Detroit is the biggest bankruptcy in the nation. And we've seen that they're trying to work their way out. And the way that Detroit got into bankruptcy was because of too much liberal control, paying too high public employee union salaries, and having a deficit as a result of these defined benefit public employee union pension plans. Well, the city that was the largest municipal bankruptcy that led Detroit into bankruptcy was Stockton. In Stockton, California, it got so bad that they spent so much money that they built a hockey rink for a hockey team that didn't even exist. The banks repossessed the city hall and precipitated Stockton going into bankruptcy. And the reason that they couldn't make their payments was because of underfunded public employee pension obligations. California is leading the nation today, and it's leading the nation into bankruptcy. And I have to tell you, it's because of unbridled public employee pension union control of the political system. The California Teachers Association has spent $300 million since the year 2000 to influence political elections and lobbying in California. Total public employee union spending in the same period of time has been $500 million. That compares with the California Chamber of Commerce in the same period of time that spent $50 million. In other words, the public employee unions are swamping the political system. They've spent 10 to 1. And what does it result in? It results in 10,000 public employees in the city of San Francisco being paid more than $100,000 a year. 70 of those employees are paid more than $200,000 a year. 20 of them are paid more than $300,000 a year. And there's a line firefighter in San Francisco who's paid $348,000 in 2013. Now, why is that important? I'm not taking it away from somebody to get a good salary, but the reason that that means something to our young people is that that employee can probably retire at age 55 at 90% of their salary.
Man, I should have been a firefighter, Jim. That's unbelievable. But when you look at it across the nation, when you look at it as a whole, not only is it the union pension plans, as you're talking about, but when you look at the entire country, there are close to 50% of American households on some sort of government benefit plan. We just have, it seems like we've become a country of gimme, 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 and we just think that we're never going to have to pay the piper. But if we look at California, it's a stark reality.
Yeah, I think that the reality is that the public assistance, the food stamps under the Obama administration have gone completely out of control. Our whole economic system has really gotten into a position of not haves and have-nots, but takes and not takes. And the reality is that people shouldn't be motivated to just try and be able to take from government. You know, it was John Kennedy, the iconic liberal, who said, ask not what you can do for your country, ask not what you can do for yourself, ask what you can do for your country. What John Kennedy's message was, don't take money, but be involved, try and help and engage.
So how do we convince the citizenry of the United States of America to stop expecting the government to do everything for us and pay everything for us?
Well, I think we have to note that the economic situation that we have today, the high unemployment throughout the nation, and particularly high unemployment in states like California,
8.5%,
are caught, well, yeah, absolutely, and 10% in the Central Valley.
Wow.
This is caused by liberal Democrats spending too much money and taxing too much. The whole thing about California that's instructive for the rest of the nation is not just that California taxes more than any other state, that they tax at every high level of taxation. It's the economic result. And Diane, you're on top of this, and I know that you know California. California is now the leader in something completely new, not technology, not entertainment. What California is the leader in is poverty. For the first time,
and prisons.
For the first time in the history of California and in the history of the nation, California is the most impoverished state in the nation. For the last 2 years, according to Obama's Census Bureau, California leads the nation in poverty, and it's because of these consumption taxes that liberal Democrats who are in control put on us. We have to do something to turn this around. It's going to be very difficult with the public employee unions swamping the political system that they are doing, but it can happen if people have the information.
Well,
that's why I wrote Taxifornia, and I hope people can have that information.
Unfortunately, we're just about out of time, so very, very briefly, Jerry Brown's budget release says they'll pay down the state debt by more than $11 billion in the upcoming fiscal year and set aside $1.6 billion in a rainy day fund. 10 seconds. You fall for it?
It's a bunch of crap, to be honest with you. If the SEC regulated California, we'd be in bankruptcy court. There's 500, 600, 800 billion worth of unfunded public pension liability that should be on the books that isn't.
I'm sure Mr. Brown will appreciate those words, but we certainly will. James Lacy, the book is Taxifornia, Liberals' Laboratory to Bankrupt America. Jim, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.
I like the fact that we can now send this off to Jerry Brown and say it is a bunch of crap.
Well, yeah, that may be the quote of the show. It's a bunch of crap.
Well, it really is. I mean, if you look at it, there's so much money there, but to say that we're going to have that kind of a budget surplus and the tax problem that they have right now, it's not quite believable.
And if you keep taxing business, they can't create more jobs.
What is believable is Diane and I will be back right after this. We'll wrap up the show, talk a little bit about what we have seen today on the Steve Mosby Show on Newsmax TV.